The world is inching toward a dangerous tipping point. Global tensions are rising. Russia presses deeper into Eastern Europe. China circles Taiwan like a hawk. Western democracies are scrambling. And at the center of it all stands the United Kingdom, preparing not just for diplomacy but for war. Let's set the stage. Since the end of World War II, Europe has enjoyed what many call the long peace. But that peace is under immense stress. In 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. What started as a regional crisis quickly escalated into a continental concern. Energy supplies were weaponized. NATO was reawakened. Defense spending began to surge. And for the first time in decades, military drills started looking less like exercises and more like dress rehearsals. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, global military expenditure surpassed $2.4 trillion in 2024, the highest in recorded history. NATO's share alone is over $1.3 trillion. A large chunk of that is now focused on Europe. And now, with fears that China might invade Taiwan or that Russia might test NATO's resolve further, every military analyst agrees, we are in a new Cold War, this time colder, faster, and far more unpredictable. At the heart of this pivot lies the UK. A country that once ruled the seas is now rearming for land, sea, air, and even cyber warfare. In 2025, the UK launched its Strategic Defence Review. The document outlines a full-spectrum warfighting strategy, allocating £3 billion to advanced weaponry, shipbuilding, drone systems, and long-range missile technology. One standout detail, a £1.5 billion munitions pipeline. The goal? Constant weapons production, even in wartime. Not just for Britain but for NATO allies who may run low in the fog of war. The UK's Defence Readiness Bill, currently under review, would allow emergency powers to mobilise industries. This includes civilian manufacturing lines, food production chains, and yes, even tech companies. An estimated 75% of British supply chains rely on just-in-time logistics. In a wartime scenario, this model would collapse. That's why even supermarket giants and Silicon Valley firms with UK bases are consulting military advisors like former Army Commander Justin Crump. Crump warns of digital system failures, cyber attacks, and food shortages, echoing what we saw during COVID-19. But this time, it wouldn't be a pandemic. It could be a power grid collapse or global supply chain sabotage. NATO is not sitting idle. In early 2025, the alliance initiated Steadfast Defender 25, its largest military exercise since the Cold War. Over 90,000 troops, 1,000 armored vehicles, dozens of ships, and aircraft were mobilized across Europe. But there's more. Intelligence from the German BND and US CIA suggests that Russia could be capable of testing NATO's Article 5 commitment by 2029. In response, countries like Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia have withdrawn from the Ottawa Treaty to restock defensive landmines. Norway is restoring Cold War bunkers. Sweden and Finland, now full NATO members, are integrating rapidly into the alliance's forward defense lines. In March 2025, NATO leaders discussed increasing defense budgets to 5% of GDP. That's nearly double the previous 2% benchmark. Germany alone committed 100 billion euros in additional defense spending through 2028. The shift is not just financial, it's strategic. High readiness forces are being established. Logistics infrastructure is being hardened. NATO's Cyber Command is now a top-level strategic unit, monitoring Russian, Iranian, and Chinese digital footprints in real time. So here's the thing, preparing for war comes at a cost. Now Britain hasn't yet committed to spending 3% of its GDP on defense. And well, that's because it would require cutting into welfare, healthcare, or education. A 2025 Sky News analysis showed that raising defense spending from 2.2% to 3% would cost roughly £30 billion annually. That's more than the entire UK budget for higher education. Still, pressure is mounting. 58% of Britons, according to a May 2025 Ipsos poll, now believe the country must prepare for a large-scale conflict within the next decade. War today is not just fought by soldiers, it's fought by systems, citizens, and software. The UK government is now working with major industries on resilience modeling. How will banks operate under cyber attack? How will food be distributed during port closures? How will telecoms operate if satellites are jammed? A recent example proves how real this threat is. In April 2025, Spain and Portugal experienced a coordinated blackout. The result? Tomato shipments to Britain were stranded. Supermarkets ran out of stock within 48 hours. The government is now exploring rationing algorithms, local distribution hubs, and even conscription modeling in extreme cases. Former military officers have warned that the UK's reserve forces could be reactivated within 30 days of major conflict. That means 45,000 personnel could be pulled from civilian life, impacting sectors from transport to healthcare. If Russia is the fire burning in Europe, China is the shadow looming in Asia. Taiwan is currently the world's most dangerous flashpoint. If China invades, the US has signaled it may intervene. Japan and South Korea would be drawn in, global supply chains would shatter. The UK's role? Intelligence support, maritime enforcement, and logistical backing for allies. The UK has increased its naval presence in the Indo-Pacific. The HMS Queen Elizabeth, its aircraft carrier, now leads a permanent strike group that could support US-Japanese operations if tensions escalate. In preparation, the UK signed new pacts with Australia under AUKUS to share submarine technology, quantum computing assets, and AI-based surveillance tools. This isn't just defense, it's deterrence by alliance. Are we on the brink of World War III? Not quite, but the foundations of such a conflict are being laid quietly, strategically, and globally. What we're witnessing is not panic, but preparation. A shift toward military realism. As global trust erodes, as autocracies rise, and as alliances are tested, the question isn't if countries will prepare for war. The question is, how far are they willing to go? Britain's war preparations are a reflection of that reality. From defense budgets to food security, from cyber networks to reserve battalions, from grocery chains to missile factories, the line between civilian and soldier, peace and war, is blurrier than ever. Stay alert, stay informed, and subscribe to Talk Maniac for the stories that matter most.